pulled up as well?
I don't know what the doc is. This is new for me.
The content that we were doing. I got this. I'll send you a link.
I can say I reviewed it. Like
the episode. Yeah. Hey, everyone. All right. 1 second here.
I think the first one's always kind of a little bumpy until you find your groove, and then you're just like,
we are live as well. So let's go ahead, drop in here. All righty. All right. Hey, everyone. How's it going? Let's just double check that we are good to go and live on everything here. We've got the schedule. I'm going to just drop this into Slack for you, Carol.
Yep. I'm already prepared. Bam.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. Good to go. What's up, everyone?
I did a post on it last week talking about like what we were going to go over.
Yep. We are live on the internet. So let's go ahead. Let me grab one other thing here. Drop this into Blackbox and we are good to go.
I don't know. I feel like we need swag or gear. Like we should both come on.
All right. 1 second here. I'm sharing this. What's up? What's up? What's up, everyone? Here's the link if you want to share it to your profile as well. And we're live. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Let's go ahead and do this. Unity home. Perfect. How are you doing this morning, Carol?
Good. How are you, Brian?
Oh, not too bad.
I see you have your coffee.
I do. We are good to go. And today, what are we talking about here? Lead generation and enrichment. I think this is a really important one for literally any business, big or small, to really hone in on.
Yeah, well,
Awesome.
I mean, leads are your life's blood, right?
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I know, like you and I think when we talk, and this is what I love, like with our morning visits or every Monday visit, Brian, is, okay, so how long have you been doing the thing? You know?
Yeah, a hot minute for sure.
Right? So I can say, like, I've been doing this thing since 2019, and I've helped a lot of people, and they all think, and like local service providers. So is that your jam too?
We do a lot of different things. Local service providers tend to be quite a bit. I mean, in marketing, they're again the painkillers and not vitamins, right? Is we all like to talk about, where they're, if you need a plumber, it's something that you absolutely need. If you need your water heater replaced, right, it's something you absolutely need. So we do a lot with within home service. I have another podcast that we talk a lot about that on as well. We also do a lot with like people across different verticals. So I work with some psychologists and counselors. We've done some stuff for attorneys. Like it really for us is entirely across the board. Is, you know, we kind of provide infrastructure, not just for local businesses, but we do a lot of white label as well. So at the end of the day, though, I think that, you know, to your point, there's a silent contract whenever you're doing marketing for someone.
Yes.
That if you're doing marketing, it's assumed that you're going to get more leads. And I think that's the silent contract, no matter if you're doing just SEO, if you're doing AEO or GEO or whatever the hell we're going to call it now, or pay-per-click advertising or any of this. At the end of the day, there is this silent contract that you're going to get them more leads,
right? But
and more
leads,
revenue.
Like that's a term in their head means something. A lead means somebody that's going to buy for them, but for us, it's a contact. Like, bro, I just got you these names and numbers. Like, I am doing a good job. What do you mean you didn't sell them well? Is that my responsibility, or is it sales process? So we could go down so many rabbit holes, Brian. And I think what I was alluding to is that you and I, and you know, we've been talking a lot more about, if you think you're going to do it solely online, as a local service provider, think again. And some of this is your responsibility. And for myself, when the people I'm like co-creating this with, I feel like I end up taking it all on and they abdicate their responsibilities. So like at any point, it is a relationship. There are expectations, needs to be communicated. And if you think you're just going to
Absolutely.
get, all of your goals met and you're just going to like go to sleep and it's going to be raining cash money in your wallet, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you're mentioning that what is it that we say? The sum of the parts is greater than the whole,
Yeah.
right? And I think that is 100% a thing that a lot of marketers do tend to miss. A lot of them tend to focus on, well, it's just PPC, or just, your go high level funnel, or it's just this.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to the entire package, right?
Yeah. It's an
Even if you
ecosystem.
get Yeah, even if you get someone into your funnel, or they click through on your ad, or they're engaging with your social post, or they're buying from you on TikTok, then there's still fulfillment. And or before that, even, what's the offer, right?
Yeah. What's sales, right? How are you going to close that?
Absolutely. And I think that that's what a lot of people tend to miss is
Yeah.
I know you and I have talked about this a lot, and we'll get into it, later in some of subsequent episodes. I know we've talked about different ways to approach this, but they get people get so hyper focused on, no one, someone filled out my ad, but I don't have any buyers. And it's like, yeah, but what is it that your ad's doing, right? It's a
Yes.
nurture, right? The idea is that now you have their email, now you have their phone number. It's not that you're trying to sell them right then and there. Again, marketing, we like to, there's a lot of these analogies that we kind of circle back to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's expecting someone to convert on an ad is
Yeah.
essentially the let's ask for marriage on the first date, right?
Yeah.
And
I love
yeah.
that. Yeah.
What's your take on that? So I know like local businesses get, the problem is local businesses get hyper focused on online forums, but they fail the offline brand experience, right?
1,000%, like well beyond 100%. And they don't
Talk to me a little
remarket
bit about that.
like Brian, if I think there's a lot of owners that are savvy, especially when you're looking at like different like levels of education, and they'll be like, well, my ROI, because they've gone through it enough and they've been hurt enough because these expectations were not clarified in the beginning.
Mhm.
And so they think they know what to ask for, but they really don't, because they're really great at what they do, but marketing is not it. And so you're right, there has to be the brand experience. It is a whole ecosystem of like how you are providing value to other people. And so I love that whole, it's like proposing marriage on the first date. Ryan Dice talks about that a lot. There's like a book by Desmond Morris. I have read it. And it's like, oh my God, relationships happen in steps. And then you map out the steps. So, but with that, to them, I've gotten my butt chewed so many times. I was like, dude, I just got you like 400 leads from Facebook. Well, those were crap leads. But I was like, you never called them. You never followed up with them. They were interested in your offer. But the expectation is that you're going to run that thing and it's going to 5X and it's going to put cash money in their pocket and they don't have to do anything else. And that's why marketing is the sexy things you do to get the card, to get the contact, and sales is where you close the deal and propose and get married.
Right.
And they don't have a sales process, but that somehow becomes my fault at the front end. Agree?
Yep.
Like I'm just supposed to deliver the suitors.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I think that goes back to the idea of, offer to nurture to close, right? That entire process that goes on, and building that cover to cover kind of brand experience that someone would expect, right? One question I'd like to pose to, anyone watching this, either live or on the replay, is when was the last time you mystery shopped your own business? And I know you and I have talked about this, Carol, where like going through your own funnel, not as a business owner, not as a marketer, but actually, taking off those hats and putting on the hat of the end user, the consumer, the actual prospect, and what does that look like? How, how seamless is that process, right? Like, oh my God, like testing your own stuff, right? It's crazy, novel idea. But I think that that's something that a lot of people just really, really don't hone in on, or they don't practice in real
Mm-mm.
life, right? They just assume like, hey, we got this funnel, like it should
Well,
work, right? Like we
yeah.
put all the best practices, we put in the GHL snapshot, and like I was told that this thing works,
And
and
it's
then
going to convert at 30% on launch because
right.
or 10% at first because what is
So
that?
and so said, yeah.
Lovable told me that all I have to do is do this and everything's going to convert at 10%. So we're so good.
Yeah.
Like,
What do you think is the biggest disconnect between like the whole, like a beautiful website, client experience? Where do you think that the big disconnect is when it comes to people?
you want to know who owns
Yeah.
it, Brian? Who owns the responsibility for that? And abdication. So because the owner or the CMO, I usually deal with owners because I work with smaller businesses. They just got it off their plate. They're not willing to pay somebody like me enough money to do all of that. And so it's not my responsibility unless you want to pay me. I don't want to pay you anything more than so.
That's included in your monthly price, right?
Right. No, it's not. And so I think again, the expectation, there's just not enough, like everybody's in such a hurry to just get it done and get it off their plate that they don't sit down and have a true conversation and really like be educated or sit down and talk to the marketer about what it is about that they're going to get delivered. And to be fair, a lot of agencies I've seen, they have sales teams. And so you're talking to a salesman, he's going to shoehorn you into a package. They don't have any clue either. And so they can't speak to, well, our technicians do this on fulfillment. They really can't speak to scope because they don't have experience of the whole ecosystem. So it's not even a thought to talk about that. And guilty. And Ryan, that's such a good thing. Like other parts of that is we talked about like the entrepreneurial operating system. When do you as an owner put on the working on your business hat and the CMO hat when you're doing all this other stuff to go through your own funnels and have your own experience with your brand? It seems like not enough time today to get to those things. But that marketer I'm paying $500 a month to better get all that. That's a lot of money.
I think that comes down to expectations, right? And I think
Yeah.
that as marketers, one of the issues that we often run into is aligning expectation, scope,
Mm-hmm.
and avoiding scope creep, right? So
Yeah.
I I tend to see this a lot, especially with marketers that are just starting out, where it's like, yeah, I can totally help you out, and we can totally do this. And I think that it's well intentioned, right?
Yes.
There's the whole idea that you genuinely want to help people. I think the problem comes into play when again those expectations don't align, or if you're not really understanding what your numbers are. And again, we talked about this, where numbers,
Yeah.
understanding your floor, understanding where your margins are at, all of that business, right? and
Yeah.
and it's
It's
something
hard.
that I think a lot of people have a tough time with. But understanding your margins,
Yeah.
absolutely critical, and understanding where you can help and where you can't help, right? Running multiple press releases for a person, obviously there's a cost for that, if you're doing it right, or if
Right.
you're doing content for someone, whether it's you writing it, opportunity cost and lost, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're taking yourself, the opportunity lost is you're working on this and not working on something else over here, right? And what does not working on the other thing, potentially lose you? um
Well,
so
and
you've
Brian,
got that.
is
Mhm.
there enough margin like between your opportunity cost and loss? Okay. And then does that cover like all your infrastructure? Does that cost that
Right.
does it cover your employees? And does it cover your lifestyle? Like this is all profit first stuff. And I think when we first met, we started talking about this. And
Yeah,
so
I love Mike's stuff. Mike,
oh my gosh,
so
love,
good.
love, love. But talking about, I guess we're supposed to be talking about lead gen, but I think
Mhm.
it's the bigger, like, is your hair on fire? If your hair's on fire, are you looking at operation costs? No,
Mhm.
your hair's on fire, right?
Yep.
Like, you got this client that's, pissed, or they're not making the money that they envisioned, because what are you doing with their money, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so talking, bringing it back kind of full circle to lead generation. I had a call with Marty Marion, who's probably like one of my favorite people on positioning and depositioning. And one of the things that always kind of struck me, and let's talk about this for a little bit here. But if your competitor had the exact same online funnel as you, and what's the offline reason? Because again, I think there's this real big disconnect with a lot
Mm,
of people that online should be it. And I think that a lot of marketers, especially digital marketers,
mhm.
fail to, like, this is a whole new concept to them, that what happens offline versus online, like they should be relatively seamless, right?
Mhm.
You have to be able to show the end user that what you saw in that ad is what's going to show up on your doorstep, or what you see here is the actual service that you're going to receive when
Mhm.
we do X, Y, and Z. And I think that really is a differentiating factor when it comes to what people, the entire experience that people have, and whether or not they're going to refer you. Like,
But that
what do
comes
you
back
take?
to the
What's your
whole
take?
abdication thing, Brian, because I just paid you to do all this stuff. What do you mean I need to give you
Mhm.
before and after photos? What do you mean you need testimonials for me? Because how am I supposed to prove who you are, what you do, where you do it, if I am getting absolutely nothing of you and your business and your
Mhm.
brand? But yet every time I hit that, email, text, hey, can you send me this? I need pictures, I need this. Crickets. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? You're
Mhm.
like, you are taking out all of my social proof, the guarantee, like everything that makes that an easy click, an easy
Mhm.
purchase. Like, I have no leg to stand on. I
So walk me through this a little bit here, as
Yeah,
far as like what you would specifically look for. You know, I've got kind of our own checklist as well, but walk
sure.
me through this cover to cover, right? If someone were to come to you and say, "Hey, look, this is what we need to increase our leads, improve our output, enrich our data," what are those things that, like, it's just a very high level checklist, as someone, if they were watching this particular episode, what's that checklist look like for someone, so that they're like, they approach you and they're like, "Hey, look, Carol, we've got your checklist knocked out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5." What are those things that you would specifically be looking for?
Gosh, Brian, I think it really is like the details. And like you said, you know, um, it's like the copywriting stuff, right? Like
Mhm.
what it is, what you're selling, who are you, when is it going to get delivered, what's the promise? Yeah, features are cool. What are the benefits? Like, how are you? And you said positioning. So I kind of want to take a side tangent on that after the fact, because that started a whole like process for me,
Sure.
you know. But yeah, like what's the differentiator? Because when we talk classically about, if I'm comparing, what makes you different, what makes you better, right? Not
Yeah.
just the benefits, but what exactly, so your USP, right? What is your USP? So this is all fundamental copywriting. What's your guarantee? And then I need proof, right? Social proof, because I can say I'm awesome. Are you going to believe I'm awesome? No,
Right.
you wanna see it, like, seeing is believing, and video has so many, like, physical elements to that. You can see them, you can hear them, like, there's a back and forth, it's not me putting on a puppet show, right? I mean, and reviews, great, cool, it's much more passive, but how much, like, physicality are you getting? It's text, and I could have paid Joe Smith potentially to put that review on there. So how much am I going to trust that? And some of that stuff I asked for, like, can you give me, the images of your interior, your exterior? Where is this happening? How am I going to feel when I show up? Like all of this is, I guess the checklist of what are the unknown questions that I would have as a total stranger, right? Meeting for you for the first time. Am I going to feel comfortable and safe? And then whatever other people are saying about you, like it's very helpful. And then how do they get it from you? Like, I guess, again, setting up the initial copywriting it's like dating 101, I guess, like relationship management. But it really is like throwing the worm out there and seeing what you're going to get in a way. I mean, you know, there's data to suggest what kind of fish is going to like your lure, right? And that's really what we're doing. We're fishing for a very specific fish because the data says they're going to be great customers and a great fit for us. And it's going to be easier because they're aware, they're problem aware, they're solution aware, right? And hopefully they're aware of your brand. But if they have no brand awareness, you are now sitting at the bar, my friend, trying to pick someone up.
Yeah.
Really.
Great analogy. I love it. You know, what I guess.
Did I answer that correct? Or what were you looking for?
Maybe no. I think that that's exactly what I would look at. So for us, you know, the other thing that we tend to see is, you know, what obviously goes back to the whole idea as far as the online offline reasons. One of the things that we would specifically look for is, you know, what does that look like? Do you have the infrastructure in place, or are we putting the cart before the horse?
Yeah.
We have the ability to scale and serve your bidder come in. If not, then that becomes an automation. It becomes an infrastructure, that kind of a conversation. I think the other thing that, and again, I know you and I've talked about this, it's the idea that like a lot of people will jump right into paid ads, or they'll jump right into marketing promotion, but their offer sucks.
Yeah,
and it's it's the marketing offer of reach out to us, we'll do a free consultation, or we'll do a free audit. And it's like, yeah, and you know, everyone, that's compelling, you know, compelling advantage. And I tend to see a lot of people will try and, you know, even with ads, like, right, I guarantee if we were to pull up Google Ads right now, and we ran some kind of ad, there's no compelling reason for me to click through on most of them. Most of them are just like, check out our website, we offer the blank product or service, right?
Yeah.
And I think that becomes an issue, especially when it comes to overall marketing and reducing your ad costs, making ads or your social content or your SEO or, you know, written content, whatever the case might be, right? Wherever form you're on.
Yeah.
I think there's also a lack of, for a lot of businesses that are not seeing the results that they're looking for. It really comes down to the idea of like, what's your offer and how that position you as, like, you know, and this is, you know, people talk about this all the time, where it has to be the Godfather offer, right? Make them an offer they can't refuse. But I think it goes a little deeper than that, where it's just not just an offer you can't refuse, but is it something really compelling them to actually, right? Like, just making them an offer that they can't refuse, that's great, all that. But if you're not garnering that trust, if you're not garnering that's actually valuable, and again, having the full intention and full awareness with the fact that offer is probably going to be it's the Chick-fil-A model, is as I've mentioned in the past, right? Where it's the little taster, right? That you're going to get them in, and then beyond that, that's when you're going to upsell them into an $8 or $10 sandwich, right? It's the, here's what we can do. Here's the lead magnet. Here's the offer that we want to get you into our funnel. We want to know that you're now problem aware. Then from there, we can nurture that into now you're solution aware.
Yes.
And we're going to do that over the string, and it may be, you know, several points by the time we can get that done.
So Brian, I want to touch back because you mentioned value, and the businesses that I've worked with, a lot of them, again, they're so focused on like a wellness service, they don't understand money is
Mhm.
not the only facet of value, but for them it is.
Sure.
And when you start doing the discount route and you look at Groupon and you start going that route, positioning to me. So I love Jobs to Be Done. Anthony Olwick, I did a whole like skill on it. You're gonna love it.
Right.
But there's the 4 quadrants, right? Quadrants where you either get like more stuff that you value or like and or versus money, right? So
Mhm.
commodity is lower quality. It's the more higher quality, higher price, lower quality,
Right.
lower price. Like what do you leave out? So in assessing the value, that's where all those attributes come, and that's where the so what comes. So yes, everyone has a freebie, and you know what? Running ads to that, and they're like, they're not showing up. Well, yeah, they're not invested, and why should they? So what? Well, I ran ads to a package. Yeah, so what? They've never had an experience with you. Like it doesn't mean, you know what I mean? So money, looking rich or whatever, or saving them, I think Walmart shopping, I'd like to put it, that's what's gotten us here into the commodity. But you're not going to run a business on a loss leader. You're not going to make any money on commoditized pricing because you think cheaper is better. And then in your differentiator, if you're a luxury good, right? What is the luxury thing that you're providing? Do you make me feel like $1 million and look like $1 million? Like, so there you're looking at like these much more tender and not in your face perceptions of value. So it's like social status, right? Sex appeal. There's a bunch of them, right? Those are those like deeper motivators. And so as a copywriter or as a marketer, we really need to be surfacing that utility, the jobs to be done. Am I doing an emotional job? Am I hitting on that? Is my copy promising you that like, if you take Total T, everybody's going to want you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and you're going to pay whatever needs to be paid, right? Because you want that end result. And I'm showing you pictures in my proof, or with, LB, whatever, that that's what's going to happen if I take Total T, right? So I am speaking to the fantasy. I'm speaking to that like really core desire, the thing that you want that you don't have. And that it's up to me to help you come out with, it's an offer I can't refuse because the value.
Right.
So anyways.
No, absolutely. We're coming up right here at the end of today's first session of Coffee with Carol and BK. So anything else that you would want to know, kind of impart on people? Just the thing I'm loving here is it. So we got this on a Monday. It sets the tone for your week, right? Yeah. Get yourself a coffee, and kind of really hone in on what it is that you want to get accomplished this week. My recommend for people is go through and mystery shop your own this week, right? Go through that funnel, not as a business owner, not as the professional, because again, people tend to get a little guarded about that. Go through it as an actual user, right? Be objective, identify where things are broken, jump in on that and actually use that as kind of a launching point to determine where you can make some quick wins and some headway. Any thoughts, suggestions, recommendations for you?
I think so. My number one on the checklist, or pretty soon, is it a vetted offer? Is it really selling? Is it really already doing the things that you're telling me it's going to do? Is it already converting at 30%? If it's not, like Mint CRO is great. Run some, you can run some test ads. Mm-hmm. You can find out really quick, go show up to a chamber mixer and pitch people your offer or whatever, right? There's so many ways to get traffic, Brian, and that's what you and I do, is we think of really creative ways to get the traffic. But if it's like you said, if it's a terrible offer and people are like, so what, I don't care. You can drape this stuff in gold. You can make it really sexy. But if nobody wants it at the end of the day, they don't want it. They're not going to pay for it. End of story.
Perfect. I think that's the mic up right there. And yeah, looking forward to continuing this next week, or whenever we've got the next one scheduled. But this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for jumping on with me today, Carol. And for everyone else, like, keep an eye out for Coffee with Carol and BK. We're going to be doing this as kind of a more frequent thing here, right?
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Take care. Yeah, 1 second. And we're just wrapping up here.